Boston on Tuesday, January 27th. Feel the thrill of all your favorite superstars live in action just 2 days after WWE Royal Rumble. Don't miss John Cena, Randy Orton, Dean Ambrose, and Roman Reigns battle Seth Rollins, Kane, The Big Show, and Bray Wyatt in an 8-man tag team match. It's WWE SmackDown live Tuesday, January 27th. Tickets are available.
You already know Kowloon Restaurant, established in 1950 and spanning 4 generations, serves a multi-Asian menu. Did you also know that Kowloon Restaurant is New England's premier Asian dining and entertainment complex, serving Cantonese, Szechuan, Thai, and Polynesian cuisine? And did you know that Kowloon Restaurant is also the home of the finest Japanese sushi? If you haven't dined at Kowloon Restaurant lately, then you simply haven't dined at Kowloon. Kowloon Restaurant, Route 1 North in Saugus.
This is Shelton Benjamin.
This is Harley Race.
This is Mick Foley.
This is Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff.
This is the Monster Abyss.
This is Daniel Bryan.
This is JBL, and you're watching the MWF.
Be there live.
Wrestling fans from around the corner, around the world, welcome to a special installment of Wrestling Insiders. I'm Dan Maratti, joined by the man that was partying like it was 1999. Back in 1963, John Cena Sr. Fabulous one. It's a pleasure to have you here with us.
It's always an honor, and it's a fabulous privilege to be here, to be able to address the fans, and obviously to sit in the same studio with you with all this great WWE memorabilia.
None of that TNA stuff.
You know what? Now, don't be bad-mouthing another organization.
I didn't bad-mouth anyone.
It was very derogatory what you said. I was all set to have Dixie Carter come on the show, and you blew it. Now
Dixie Carter is a welcome guest.
No, she won't
I love
come on
TNA.
now. She won't come on.
I love TNA.
Oh, I like TNA. Yeah, I like TNA. Tea, nuts, and apples. You're just not going to make it.
Different story for a different time. Johnny, we touched upon it in our news segment about the WWE Hall of Fame announcement about Macho Man Randy Savage. Brock Lesnar, what is his future? His contract expires March the 30th, the day after WrestleMania 31.
Well, I'll tell you what. I said it earlier, I'll say it again. I consider Brock Lesnar one of the smartest businessmen that I know. Collegiate athlete, outstanding professional wrestler, MMA star, held 3 titles. Nobody's ever held those 3 titles. He knows when to strike the iron. He knows his value. He holds out for what he wants. If he doesn't get it, then he doesn't do it.
You got to respect that to a point.
I do.
If you eliminate yourself from the process of being a fan, and most likely if you're watching this, you want him in professional wrestling, but you got to respect the fact that he is one of the few people in this genre that can hold that kind of power.
Because he's a businessman, because he is a true professional. I remember when Brock and Cena were down at OVW. Excuse me. And then I remember when Brock and Cena was then the Doctor of Thugonomics, heel extraordinaire, and Lesnar was the heavyweight champion. And they did battle in more arenas, Cena and Lesnar, and drew huge crowds. So Brock is a draw. What happens after WrestleMania? I think Brock Lesnar, his heart really is not in professional wrestling.
His heart's in the paycheck.
Well, but you know what? I hate to use Triple H.
And it is a profession.
That's right. I hate to use Triple H's words or Stephanie's words now that they get their new workout tapes. But you got to do what's best for business. And what's best for business right now is for Lesnar to continue to do what he's doing, put over who he needs to put over, and his contract is up. Unless, hypothetically, let's say I'm giving you $2 million and selected runs. I'll sit down and say, I want 4 in selected runs. If you give the dog the candy, and no offense, Brock, I'm not calling you a dog, but if you feed the dog what he wants, then the dog will never leave the yard. Dog only leaves the yard when he can't get the food that he wants or he's not treated properly. Will Brock Lesnar be around after WrestleMania? My prediction is no. Will Brock Lesnar be the champion going into WrestleMania? My answer is no. Who will be the champion going into WrestleMania?
Why do you think that we will not see Brock Lesnar as the WWE World Heavyweight Champion come WrestleMania 31, March the 29th?
Brock Lesnar, my client, Brock Lesnar, has destroyed anyone, anybody, and anything in his way. As hard as they try to make Roman Reigns look like, no offense either, Roman, Superman, the internet wrestling fans are irate about Super Cena. How much more irate will they be over Superman? I don't think it makes sense. I think what makes sense, if I were writing the story and I'm not, yeah, if you want to have Roman Reigns face Brock Lesnar, that's okay. I think what really makes sense, in my opinion, and I have 2 ways of dealing with this, and I'm not a writer, so, the first thing I would do, the championship match, the Royal Rumble, would now be a 4-way. There'd be a 4th entrant that would come in a puff of smoke, and it would be The Undertaker, and he would take the belt.
Well, you know what? Hey, they did it with The Rock.
What's the word I'm trying to use here now that I'm into this mode of thinking? Not very often do I get there, but it kind of vindicates the losing of the streak. He beats the beast. The WrestleMania match of the night, 31 match, would be Brock Lesnar comes to the ring. He's going to face Dan Marati. I'll just give you a hypothetical.
Hell of a match.
Marati's unable to come out for whatever reason. They show a shot in the back. It's been laid out. What happens is, all of a sudden, mist begins to fall from the sky. What comes up from the center of the ring but the Undertaker? And we have the rematch of Undertaker versus Lesnar. People will pay to see that.
Yeah, but you have to advertise it. You're making it sound like you want to do it as a surprise.
Well, either way, it doesn't make any difference. I was there the night the streak was broken. You talk about a kick in the chops. You talk about it. I saw grown women cry. I saw men cry.
I didn't cry.
I saw Michelle McCool, just like, and God bless her, it was like, even if you were there, right, I was with The Rock's family, his mother and his girlfriends, and I just kind of went, oh shit. I don't believe it. This is not right. It's just crazy. It's Percy Pringle, Paul Bearer, Bill Moody. He and I used to have extensive talks about the business. And, I said to him at one show, we're in the airport having his Nathan's hot dog. And God bless
I remember
his soul,
the call
brother.
about the Nathan's hot dog.
And it's kind of like, do you ever think that streak will be broken? From the words, from the man himself, who now is with the Holy Father in heaven, God bless him, Bill Moody, said, no, that streak should never, ever, ever be broken. Somebody made the decision to break the streak. Damage. To put over Brock Lesnar, and nothing against Brock Lesnar, a smart businessman, to put him over as the beast that they use occasionally. I don't know if you watch Monday Night Raw, and I'm sure you did, but during Heyman's speech, he usually gets a lot of boos, a lot of jeers. I didn't hear a whole lot of that. I was very like, okay, so Heyman's talking. It's like, who really cares? So I believe, to me, I would have a 4th entrant in the Royal Rumble. It would be The Undertaker. The Undertaker would win the belt. Then do a 3-way if you want at WrestleMania. But I think that who is going to come out the winner at the Royal Rumble, I think Seth Rollins will be your new heavyweight champion.
Do you really think he's the guy you want to be the heavyweight champion going into WrestleMania 31, the marquee event of the year, the 30th anniversary?
How much better is it to have Roman Reigns kick the living stuffing out of the man that sold out? That's what the fans will buy into. That's what the fans...
Exactly. So why don't you make that the championship match?
Rollins is the champion.
No. Reigns and Lesnar.
Because Lesnar is the beast. He's destroyed Cena. He's destroyed Triple H. He has literally torn everybody a new one.
So what do you do with Lesnar at WrestleMania? I'll ask you this. Two different theories. What do you do with Lesnar at WrestleMania if he's not going to resign? I'll ask you that. If he's not going to resign his contract that expires March 30th,
and I don't think
how
he
do you
is.
Brook Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania?
I don't think Brock Lesnar is going to resign.
All right, let's go with that theory. What would you do with him?
Maybe Lesnar doesn't even make WrestleMania.
No, that's unless he's injured, he'll be at WrestleMania.
You know what? Stranger things have happened. Like when he said, "I've had enough of professional wrestling," and walked out of the locker room, and they never saw him again.
Finances are a little different, too.
Well,
but that's a different story for a different time.
He's still Brock Lesnar, one of the finest human beings, great professional wrestler, athlete. He's still Brock Lesnar. What do you do with Lesnar at WrestleMania? There's a lot of things you could do at WrestleMania, such as the match that everybody would like to see, David versus Goliath.
Ooh.
Daniel Bryan. It makes no more sense putting, look, you're going, oh, Daniel Bryan against Brock Lesnar. How much sense does it make to put Roman Reigns against Brock Lesnar? If he destroyed Cena, he destroyed Triple H, he destroyed Hulk Hogan.
That was in 2002.
I think Cena was 2014.
I'm talking about Hogan.
But I'm just telling you, he's tearing through everybody.
Right, I know.
They complain about the 5 moves of doom. Let's see, I've got a punch and I've got a super spear and a red cape and a big red S. You know what? It doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense.
I got to put my notes down. I really got to get into this. So you're saying if
I'm just trying to irritate the hell out of you.
No, I want your honest
opinion.
I want your honest opinion.
Well, I'm kind of going
around
Robin
Hood. If you had the
Hood's
pencil,
back.
what would you do with Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania if he's not going to resign?
I would definitely find a way to see if Taker would come back. That would be the first thing. The other thing I would probably do is if Taker is unable to return to the ring and face Brock Lesnar for vindication, because that would be the final goodbye. That would take care of Lesnar walking out okay and Taker regaining his quote-unquote status that he needs, which he doesn't need. You know where I'm coming from with that? The other thing I might do with Lesnar is it all depends if Triple H wants to get back in the ring or not.
Oh, Johnny, you're not serious, are you? Come on, I'm asking you seriously, not you trying to break my balls.
Wait a minute, this is a family show.
Well,
no, of course Triple H wants to get back in the ring.
Triple H will be there in Mania. You have to go with their working plans.
With Sting and Triple H?
Sting and Triple H, Undertaker and Wyatt, Lesnar and Reigns, and Cena and Rusev. But I miss and that's,
you know what?
Yeah, that's not including Randy Orton in the mix. That's not including Daniel Bryan in the mix. So I expect that to change to some degree.
Cena, I mean, we got a whole bunch of matches there, but Cena and Rusev, that I'm not a fan of that. I really.
Well, I want answers on the Brock Lesnar. This is the Brock Lesnar.
Why don't you put Lesnar
experience.
against Rusev?
Oh,
why not?
Johnny, it's his last night in WWE for the foreseeable future. He's going back to MMA.
So send him out as a face. Send him out as a hero. Send him out as the man who's finally realized what's wrong. He's now done a 90-degree. He defeats the man that spit on this country. Send him out the way he needs to go out. Send him out with class.
So if you're Vince McMahon, you want Lesnar to lose the championship and turn face before WrestleMania to face Rusev.
Because what I would do is I would have Paul Heyman turn on Brock Lesnar and pick up with Seth Rollins. Lesnar now, yeah, but you know what?
They've done that before.
Take a look at the wrestling fans today. Take a look at what they buy into. Take a look at what they're looking for. I tell you, it would work. It would work. It would work. Rollins doesn't need the authority. Or Rollins and Heyman now become part of the quote-unquote big part of the authority. Lesnar now says, you know what? You want to dump on me? Let me show you just what the Beast can really do. And come out and leave on a high note so that the door is always, and it always will be open to Brock Lesnar whenever he wants to come back. It's like Chris Jericho, who I think is another hell of an athlete. Sure. I really enjoy watching Jericho's work, his performance, his promos. He's just tops in the business. Those are some of the things that I might think about doing with Brock Lesnar. You know...
So that's how you'd send Brock Lesnar off against Rusev if he's not going to resign. Let me ask you this. If Brock Lesnar decides to resign with WWE, what would you do with him at WrestleMania 31?
Okay, first of all, if Lesnar decides to resign, you don't want him to carry your belt anymore. I think that belt definitely at some point at the Rumble or at WrestleMania definitely has to change hands. It definitely has to change. And it doesn't mean that every time your champion goes in the ring, the belt is on the line. I think that's part of the problem. I really do. So let's say that Roman Reigns is your champion. He's on Raw. So tonight it'll be the WWE Heavyweight Champion against Rusev in a non-title match. That makes a lot of sense. You don't always put the belt on the line all the time. It doesn't have to be that way.
Well, on pay-per-views, the title should always be on the line.
No argument for me at all.
That's your payoff.
No argument for me at all.
If these TV matches are going to be non-title, my only problem is you have champions getting, not the heavyweight championship, obviously, but Intercontinental, U.S., women's, tag team. You have non-title matches, but you don't announce them as non-titles, and you have them losing via pinfall and submission. I don't like that.
I agree. I have no argument for that.
Announce that it's a non-title. That's all.
Brock Lesnar now is...
He's the champ. He's resigning. What has John Cena seen you do with him?
He's no longer the champ.
All right, you're going to take the belt off him either way.
Take him right off.
All right.
Right off.
Who gets the belt?
I hate to say this because I know who I want to have the belt. I think Cena would be 16-time world champion, be a great run at WrestleMania. It would be championship against championship, U.S. championship against the heavyweight championship, Rusev versus Cena. Makes a lot of sense. Good match, good something to see. I think, and I already said to you, if I were writing the Royal Rumble, the scenario I see happening now, although now there's a little bit of a question where Cena put, I believe it was Monday night, he put Brock through a table. That's always an indication when they lose, they win. And I'm not trying to say anything, but you still have one more week. So it might be Cena's turn next week or Seth Rollins, or both. The Beast from the East will destroy them both. Then it's up in the air. But I definitely would do this. I would take the strap off of Lesnar. I'd give it to Cena. It's been done before, you're going to say. It's been done a million times before. But you know what? It makes for a good storyline. Cena is bloodied up, beat up. Lesnar is down. Not out. Down. Seth Rollins is still a little bit with it. Belts Cena with the briefcase, cashes in, becomes the new heavyweight champion. Lesnar is livid. Heyman is livid. Brock Lesnar, Heyman runs over, shakes Rollins' hand. Hooray, hooray. It's a sellout. He takes out Heyman, and he takes out, with the F5, he takes out Seth Rollins. You've got your face turned. You now have a man that you can use that people will truly follow now. And I think that's the way it should go. I really do, because Lesnar signs for a year at a time. So
he signed 2 years this go around.
Well, that's because everything was right.
So who would you have Lesnar face in this capacity at WrestleMania?
I still would have him face Rusev.
Either way.
Absolutely.
Whether he's staying or going, if you're the man behind the machine who's looking out for what's best for business, you have Lesnar and Rusev at WrestleMania.
You have a man who has an undefeated streak, Brock Lesnar, until he lost the championship.
No, Rusev has an undefeated streak. They've done a great job building him up.
Absolutely. So who better? The Beast from Russia with Lana. We take everybody, make everybody see Russia superior. Pooh! As the Sheik would say, Brock Lesnar, I'll break you too. And then Brock Lesnar now, the true American, comes forward and destroys the Russian. Takes the belt. If he's not going to be there anymore, then it would be, I'm retiring, I'm out. Or if he is, now he's a U.S. champion. and there's enough people in line that you can put him up against, that he could put over, or vice versa. You got a ton of rematches with Rusev right there. The story keeps going. It keeps going. If they're trying to bring on the new faces, which they are doing a good job of, in my opinion, then it's time that some of the other individuals begin to take a back seat, less and less. So Lesnar, you've got Rollins, you've got Reigns, you've got Ambrose, you've got one of my favorite guys right there, Bray Wyatt. That guy has a future ahead of him that I think is just unbelievable with the WWE. The character is outstanding. The one guy I feel who isn't a singles wrestler and has tried real hard is Eric. He's tried. They just can't seem to get him over. I don't care what they do. Luke Harper, outstanding performer.
Yes.
He's got a great future ahead of him in professional wrestling, and that's just me.
I want the explanation as to why the Wyatts turned on each other. It happened out of nowhere.
Yep.
Now all of a sudden they're wrestling each other. If you follow my Twitter, @Dan sometimes I tweet during Monday Night Raw. There's 5 hours of fresh content every week on television. A lot of it is repetitive. Why not let the fans get a little bit more invested? You had this Wyatt family-like cult. They were in it to win it. They were in it together. And then they just disbanded for no reason.
I agree.
Why not? And the same thing with the Bellas. You had Nikki turn on Brie at SummerSlam. Then Brie became the maid for the month, the servant for the month. Then out of nowhere, Brie turned and went back with Nikki. Then you have the significant others, John Cena and Daniel Bryan, not caring about anything they do. I just think there's so much time that can be invested in these types of things that sometimes go ignored. It frustrates me as a fan watching it because it lacks common sense. And it frustrates me, someone quote unquote in the business, because I think the more direction you give these talents, these characters, the more depth you give these characters, the more the fans are going to invest themselves in it, and that's what's truly best for business.
I agree. I have no argument. I always said, and I'll say it, I've said it before and I'll say it again, if anybody should have broken the streak of The Undertaker at WrestleMania, and I understand why they did Brock Lesnar, it should have been Bray Wyatt.
Well, you may see that matchup this year.
Well, it would have been a real eerie situation. Now, you know what? It's not going to work now. It just isn't going to work. I hate to say this, the damage has been done. There's no saving this one.
How does Undertaker come back and not try and avenge that loss is my only thought.
You can't. He has to do it against Lesnar.
If they're going to do Wyatt and Undertaker at WrestleMania, how does Undertaker, like I said, come back and not want to avenge what happened at last year's WrestleMania?
Then you make it a three-way: Lesnar, Wyatt, and Taker.
You're always big on these 3 and 4 ways.
I like three ways. I like three ways.
I hate. Well,
but
the one that was talking
another
about
story
Dick
for another
Clark.
time. But no, my whole thing is, you've got to stop and think. Wyatt versus Taker. Not something I want to see.
You wouldn't be interested in that.
I'm not interested in that match
So what
at
are you
all.
going to do? Go get a popcorn when you're in San Jose this
I'm
March?
there. I'll have to see it. I'll have to sit there and watch it. But it's not one of my things. It's not something I truly want to see. I'm not interested in that match at all. It means nothing. Undertaker losing that streak
Broke the heart.
It did more harm than good.
Such respect that I have for that man. I think back to the same night I met Paul Bearer was the same night I met him, and that was November the 12th, 1994, in the locker room at the Boston Garden. And for a kid in the 10th grade to be able to have that experience, even though, I was bigger and so on, I looked older than I was. It just had... It had such meaning. I know, not everyone can look 58 and a half like you every year.
Yeah, right. I wish, Dan, thank you.
I told you, when it happened, I hated it. Then I said, you know what, you got to think of it from a business perspective. Is Lesnar ending the streak going to heat him up for a successful championship run? And I have to say, he hasn't been around enough. Even though WWE has the option to pull the trigger to get him on any pay-per-view and Raw they want, I understand the finances behind it because he is very expensive to bring in when you break it down per show. If I'm booking WrestleMania, I look at it this way. As a fan, I would like to see it end, if Lesnar is out, Undertaker and Lesnar, with Undertaker going out, and putting it in a way similar to WrestleMania 7 when Macho Man lost his retirement match. Not to say that Lesnar would retire from wrestling forever, but maybe that the extension of respect, a handshake between the two of them, and maybe the Undertaker could ride off into the sunset. But if I'm looking at it from a business perspective, you have to look at it like this. Brock Lesnar, as you said, has devoured everybody since he came back in 2012. He had that brutal match that he lost with John Cena. He had Triple H, CM Punk, Undertaker, Big Show at Royal Rumble. It really wasn't even much of a match last year. He just beat the hell out of him with a chair. He's crushed everyone in WWE. So who is going to stop this unbeatable monster? To me, the best way to do it is to give it to the next generation. Daniel Bryan isn't going to work because no one would take it seriously. And I think Daniel Bryan's great. We've had him here in the Millennium Wrestling Federation before. I have to say you go with Roman Reigns. He's the it factor right now in professional wrestling. No offense to Bobby Roode.
Not ready.
Well, he's the guy they're building. All right, let me throw this one at you.
Not ready.
So let's say it's Reigns and Lesnar. What if Lesnar beats Reigns and goes back to UFC? UFC's been mentioned an awful lot in the world of WWE. What if he does both? They're not letting anyone in on it.
I don't think Vince is going to allow that, first of all.
How big would it be, though?
Well, but stop and think about this. All it's going to take is Lesnar to get beat real bad with broken bones, and there's your investment down the shitter.
How bad do you ever see? How often do you see that happen?
Well, you know what?
I'm not a big UFC fan.
I just want to tell you right now that with Lesnar back in, quote unquote, as one person said on the web, I'd love to have him come back and fight me, and I'll send him right back to fake professional wrestling. So you know what? Now you're a target. It's not just punch your face and make you hurt. It's break your leg or break your arm. So, and that's what I used to do, ring announcing for mixed martial arts fighting. And I got to tell you something. There is no playing in that ring. When that bell rings, the door closes in the octagon, and I want to tell you something. It's blood. It's me or you. I'll take anything I can get, and I'll use anything I can get. So I don't think that's going to work. I like what you said. And I think we could expand on that, but you would be down on it, I'm sure, just because of who you are.
What's that supposed to mean?
No, I'm only kidding. My thought would be, I like your idea of Brock Lesnar facing The Undertaker. And what I would do, and I hope you would concur, but you won't, I would definitely let Taker win the championship. And then on Monday Night Raw, retire the belt. I'm retiring. You know what? You shake your head, no. But now it's open. All the new guys have a shot at getting the prestigious heavyweight championship of the world. Vindication has happened for The Undertaker. If you want Lesnar to be the nice guy and shake his hand and say, wow, here it is. You know, you beat me fair and square, that's fine. I think Taker deserves that last run. He deserves to hold that belt up high one more time. The fans would go nuts.
I don't disagree with that. If Undertaker's healthy, I think that's a great possibility. But the guy has been pretty much a one-match-a-year character.
Because
I wouldn't give him the title just to forfeit it. That's not The Undertaker.
Nobody's forfeiting
Well, if you
anything.
say he gives it on Raw next
it's
time,
his retirement match. He wants the fans to know that he...
So advertise it as his retirement match.
Fine. And
win, lose, or draw, that's it.
He wins the title. Monday night he comes out. He has his title. I've retired from professional wrestling. How many times has Ric Flair retired?
Well,
yeah, well, but let's use the example.
The only one that's considered in the history books is WrestleMania 24 in Orlando when you and a lovely blonde attended.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
So... Either way, to pay off on everything Lesnar has done, you've got to build a new star out of everything you'd invested in Brock Lesnar. The question is, who do you put it on? Who are the possibilities? Your son. Ben may have done that. I mean, if you're going to go with the gold for him, it deserves a magnificent storyline build-up if he's going to become the 16-time champion. And
I think he is at Royal Rumble. He's going to win it.
If that's the case, then they've done a piss-poor job of building up him tying Nature Boy Ric Flair's fictitious record of 16 world
27-time champion. I mean, this 16 is just a number, and everybody knows in the business it's just a number. So,
right.
But with Rollins cashing in, becoming the new heavyweight champion at the Royal Rumble, that makes sense.
You have to get
right. Just cash it in at some point.
Even if Rollins takes the belt, that's fine. I think you still have to go with Reigns and Lesnar as a match without a championship. You've got to Lesnar has killed what's in WWE right now.
Then Lesnar has to beat Reigns.
He needs to lose to the future.
The future is not Reigns. I'm sorry. Another year, another year, I might sit here and say to you, Roman Reigns has got the skills, the mic skills, the wrestling skills. Look at I've been watching wrestling a long time, and I sit back and I look at what they say is the next face of the WWE. I don't disagree with that. But like anything else, you got to groom them, you got to work them, and you got to get them to the point where the fans will accept them. Hear what I'm going to say to you. And wrestling fans, if I'm wrong, you text this man at the BostonWrestling.com website. Tell him that I made a huge mistake and you want me fired. But I'll tell you what, if Roman Reigns wins the Royal Rumble, the boos in that arena will be heard in Boston, Mass. I don't care if it's Southeast Asia. The boos will be heard all the way to Boston. He's just not the guy right now. I'm not
I disagree with you.
Well, you have other people that you can move slowly with. But the
if
trouble
Lesnar's wrapping up, you've got to get some kind of return on the investment that you've spent the past 3 years on. He's beat and crushed everybody. Who's the guy that he passes the proverbial torch to?
Who are you
you
talking
make
about?
a new star
Lesnar?
of? Brock Lesnar.
Maybe
You've got to get some kind of value on the way out with him leaving to make a new superstar.
But maybe
Who's the guy?
Lesnar isn't the guy to put the next person over.
Sure he is.
No, he isn't.
He's the biggest draw they have right now.
I wouldn't say that. Not next to Cena, he's not. Not next to Ambrose, he's
He
not.
moves, even because he's so limited, he moves tickets at a far faster rate.
Because nobody sees him. That's fine if you
That's
sell.
the point. That's how everything should be. But that's a whole different
But
segment.
if you don't need, like I say, I still think it should be Lesnar or Undertaker at WrestleMania. The way it
But you
goes.
don't get a return investment out of that. That's what pisses me off
still
about that train of thought. I'd like to see that happen as a wrestling fan, but as someone looking at the wrestling
then you
business
wanna put
itself,
Roman
you
Reigns-
got to get a return investment.
You want to
So you're
put
looking
Roman Reigns against Brock Lesnar without the belt.
yes. So you're talking, you could choose
That's
from
fine.
Reigns, Bryan, Ambrose, Randy Orton,
you know
are about
what?
the only four.
And you know what? I'm going to tell you the same thing that I tell everybody else. When Reigns beats Lesnar, now you know it's all fake. Because this man has literally destroyed everything in his path. And we've got one punch and a spear. Hello, Superman. I'm not being wise, and I am. I'm being the devil's advocate here. I'm saying, whoopee. You know what? You chew this one out. This guy's not worthy. That guy's no good. This guy's got this. And then you're going to give it to somebody with a punch and a spear. Good luck to you. That's all I'm going to say. Good luck to you.
How many moves does The Undertaker have? And I love The Undertaker. How many moves does he have?
Mark can work. Mark can work. The difference between Reigns and Mark or The Undertaker is of course, look at the years The Undertaker has under his belt. But he could work. When he came in, he could work. He had a character. He didn't have to have a lot of moves. Taker's famous move was getting the hell beat out of him, laying on the mat, whoa, and up he came. You couldn't hold him down. It was a great idea. Walk the ropes, great idea. Look at Strongbow, God rest his soul. What do you have? Tomahawk chop and a sleeper hole. And everybody sits here, and the wrestling fans today go, oh, well, professional wrestling, you got to be able to do hurricanratas, come off the rafters. Folks, I hate to fill you in, but that ain't professional wrestling. If you look at Bruno Sammartino's matches, Haystack Calhoun, Jay Strongbow.
What did Bruno have for a move set?
Bruno was the Italian strongman.
Well, he could be the Samoan superhero. If I'm putting my money into the future, look at Randy Orton's 35. John's what, 36, 37?
I'm not going to tell you how old John is.
Oh, it's on Wikipedia. Come on.
Well, go ahead. Look at Wikipedia.
I'm just not sure of the age. Daniel Bryan's in his 30s now.
Yep.
So if you're looking at a younger set, the only two, and you're talking bordering on 30, would be Reigns and Ambrose. So who do you go with?
You know what I say? I say groom them. You got some NXT guys that are coming up. You just one more year with Reigns. I am not, and I go on record. I go on record to all the wrestling fans. I am not saying that I am not saying that Roman Reigns is not the next face. But if you put frosting on the cake while it's hot, it holds for a minute and then melts and fades away. That's all I'm going to say. I'll make a prediction right now. Bring the cream to the top and watch it get sour. Don't bring the cream to the top until you're ready to whip it and until you're ready to put it on a cool cake. Look, I use analogies that people can understand because, you know, we could sit here all day, you and I go back and forth with wrestling jargon and talk, and we'll get some good comments. They'll say Cena's an idiot. He's pushing this guy or that guy.
I mean, everyone has an opinion. You just have a different train of thought than I do.
I just kind of sit back.
And I think that's interesting.
And I don't disagree that we have to make money because what have I told you in every event that you and I have been involved in? This is a business, Stan. Friendship ends where business begins. You have to do, and whoever came up with that quote, we need to do what's best for business. If you can't wrestle and you don't put, you know, asses in seats, I don't need you. See you later. Goodbye. You're finished. I don't need you. You don't want to do what I want you to do. You want to have your own thing. You don't want to stick to the time limit. Guess what? I don't need you. I don't want you. And I'm not saying that Roman Reigns is not best for business. I'm not saying that Seth Rollins is not best for business. I am agreeing with you. But do not rush the water, lest the well dry up.
Unbelievable wrestling fans. You heard it from the fabulous one himself. Another great topic here to discuss. We'll be back with more soon. John Cena Sr., I'm Dan Marotti. We'll see you next time. Be well.
In the making. Iconic moments take on a new life in stunning images, behind-the-scenes stories, and exclusive interviews.
One of the most incredible nights I've ever had.
On that night, there's nobody else I could have done it with but Scott Hall.
Welcome to WrestleMania!
30 years of WrestleMania. Available September 15th. Pre-order now online or wherever books are sold.